Welcome to the NewRise Way. In a quiet valley, where mountains stood tall and silent, and the river once danced with light, lived a shepherd named Yusuf. He was a man of simple means and simpler dreams. His world was a wooden hut built with his own hands, a flock of sheep that knew his voice, and a heart that carried unshakable faith in God. Yusuf woke with the dawn every day. The sun had barely kissed the sky when he offered his prayer, eyes closed, spirit wide open. Villagers often saw him walking through the mist, whispering prayers not to be heard, but to be felt. They called him strange. They said his faith was too much for a man with so little. But Yusuf smiled. He knew that wealth wasn't in gold, but in gratitude. He led his sheep over hills and through forests, always pausing to admire the beauty of God's creation. The wind, the trees, the birds all felt like parts of a divine conversation. And Yusuf listened, as if the world itself was speaking to him. He had once been a boy full of dreams. After losing his parents early, he was raised by his grandfather, also a shepherd. It was he who taught Yusuf, faith is stronger than fear, and trust in God can carry you through any storm. Those lessons were etched deep in Yusuf's heart. One evening, as he returned home, dark clouds gathered above the air but no rain fell. The sky rumbled for days without a drop. Soon, the grass faded. The streams slowed. The drought had begun. At first, the village waited patiently. But days turned to weeks, weeks to months. Fields dried. Wells emptied. Fear grew in every heart except Yusuf's. He continued leading his sheep to the highlands, whispering prayers beneath his breath. Others mocked him. "You think your words can bring rain?" They laughed. Yusuf simply looked at the sky and said, "When the time is right, it will fall." But time passed. The sheep thinned. Yusuf grew weaker, walking miles for water enough for just one more day. He gave away his own share to a sick child, a hungry elder. He knew hunger. He had lived with it. And he had lived through it. One afternoon, exhausted, Yusuf climbed the tallest hill near the valley. With sun burning above and land cracked below, he raised his hands and said softly, "My Lord, I do not ask for comfort. I do not ask for plenty. I only ask for mercy, not for me, but for them." No answer came. No wind. No cloud. No change. Still, Yusuf walked down the hill, as if his words had been heard in silence. That night, something stirred. Far beyond the valley, clouds began to form. The moon vanished. Stars blinked out. The wind returned, carrying the scent of rain. A single drop tapped a rooftop, then another, and another, until the heavens opened and the valley was embraced by the storm. Children danced in the mud. Elders wept in gratitude. The fields turned greener as if kissed back to life. The villagers gathered in the mosque and gave thanks. Someone asked, "Who prayed for this?" They remembered Yusuf. They found him where he always sat by the old cedar tree. His sheep rested beside him, soaked but safe. His eyes were closed, his face to the sky, a smile on his lips. The village chief said, "Yusuf, you have nothing, yet you gave everything. Tell us how?" Yusuf opened his eyes and said, "I have everything because I trust the one who gives." From that day, he was no longer mocked but honored. People sought his words, requested his prayers, but he never changed. Still rose before dawn. Still whispered to the trees. Still gave more than he kept. He began teaching the children about nature, about gratitude. He showed them how to listen to the wind, how to thank the earth, how to walk with kindness. He told stories of prophets, of old lessons, always returning to one truth: faith is not just belief, it is action. Years passed. The valley thrived. Yusuf grew old, his beard white, his steps slow, but his spirit stayed light. He returned often to the hill where he once prayed for rain. Now, not to ask but to give thanks. One evening, a boy came to him, the same child Yusuf had once fed during the drought. "Uncle," the boy asked, "why did you never lose hope, even when nothing changed and you were alone?" Yusuf smiled. "Because hope is not based on what we see. It is based on who we trust." That night, Yusuf passed away quietly beneath the stars. His sheep stood around him, as if guarding their shepherd. The villagers buried him beside the cedar tree. On his grave, they carved 3 simple words. He trusted always. The years turned like pages in a book. The children Yusuf taught grew into leaders, and their children learned to walk gently, as he had. In every drought, someone would climb the hill and whisper a prayer, and not with panic, but with peace. Not in doubt, but in faith. And rain would come, not always quickly, not always abundantly, but always in time. They say the valley never forgot the shepherd who had nothing but gave everything, who owned little, but lived richly, who spoke softly, but was heard by heaven. And in every rainfall, every green shoot, every whisper of wind, the people still feel his prayer, not as a sound, but as a presence. A reminder that even in silence your faith speaks loudest, and the world listens. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more life lessons and motivational stories. This is the NewRise Way.